Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records of cash. We laughing, we drafting the passion to vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Conscious is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magic, let's basking it. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
So, given that for today, it's always like, you could argue in your mind as a human being, you guys are humans, right? That, there's this concept of like everything happens for a reason. Like, we should talk about it because so many people there's so many mixed points of view and how do we ever really know and all of that. I am very much like literally things occur magically all the time and everything is so clearly for a reason in my reality that I don't have a lot of, I'm not like confused. I'm like, no, it does. But then I'm really interested in how different people frame that and sort of have different ideas about that. And so we can talk about that as a concept, and I was thinking about, you have to remind me, Cass, because today we were going to have a guest. I'm officially starting. I hope we're okay with starting. So I wanted to try to get this woman, Vanda, on today, but I completely dropped the ball and spaced on it and didn't ask her about the time. This crazy series of events occurred wherein I had a bunch of people from this Sedona retreat I just went on at my house this weekend. We did like social distant, hang out in the backyard, wearing masks, hangout time. And I was telling you guys, I think last time we talked or maybe the time before, about the whole Sedona thing. And I wound up telling the story at this gathering of women this weekend, yesterday. And I need you to remind me, Cass, I can't remember on here on the podcast, have I told the story about the man I dated after I broke up with Eric the first time, where I wound up getting the download about the fall of 2020?
You've alluded to the downfall of 2020 a few times with some detail on a couple of different episodes.
Okay.
Enough that I will say that like followers of our show that I know have asked me about it. Like,
okay,
what is Katie saying about that now?
Okay, perfect. Because I think what we should do today is my point being, the story came up again because it comes up. I ended up telling this group of people, everybody was like ping, 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 ping. Everybody had a story. Everybody had a thing. It was all la, la, la. And then everyone there was like, will you please do us a favor and like do a follow-up reading kind of publicly about like, is that still a thing? Because we would all like to know. Like, for example, so I think I should tell the story, which takes a bunch of minutes. I'm going to do my best to do the shortest version of it, but it's quite a this leads to this leads to that in a miraculous series of ways where you're like, what? So it's a good story. It's just a few minutes. But to give you an example of sometimes the effect it can have is, there was a woman in the group who said, I have been about to buy this $1.7 million house in San Anselmo. She's a real estate agent, but who also like has money, and was going to buy this house. And she's like, I keep getting in my own psychic spidey sense way a big fat no, but I love the house and it's gorgeous and I don't understand why. And she said, I think you just saved me $1.7 million. Because when I said the story to her, she was like, that is the answer to the question. I've been getting this awareness, but I didn't have the details of why. And then as soon as I told the story, she was like, that's it. And she wound up telling her story of how she keeps walking into this house and they're sort of in escrow, but sort of not. And she keeps being like, why am I getting a no? But I really want the house. Anyway, so that's like someone. Then there's another girl in the circle who I had told the story to when we were in Sedona. Since then, she is like a mother of 2 twins with like a wealthy husband, and they live in Danville. They have rented an RV for October and November and are going to not be in California for those 2 months because of the story. So my point being, I mean, those are positive. Those are people who like got into it. Some people's reactions are like, you're a nut job. I gotta go.
Right.
So I'm just telling not positive stories, but stories of people who are like, oh, I get that. That feels real to me. Anyway, I feel like we should tell the story. And then as to your point, Cass, or whoever it was that was texting this morning, I forget because I was spacey, that we can talk about this next round of who was it, Des or Cass? I can't remember. One of you was, talking about like, what did you call it? Round 2 of, what is it? You had a sassy name.
Shelter 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Oh man. Because, can I ask you, Desmond, is that because it's sort of been made official at this point? Or
yeah, we got the letter this morning that the boys will not be returning to school in the fall. And they're a little bit loose on the elementary, high school, definitely not through 2020. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's not a huge surprise, but it's really real now.
Yeah. And like we just got, Newsom rewound some of the forward progress. He said, nope, sorry. That reopening we were doing, we're going to undo some of it. So we're going back into a previous phase.
Okay. Yeah, I got
for another few months.
I see. Yeah. I got an email from my gym in Benicia, where she was like, they had just reopened a month ago.
Yeah. And gyms are being re-shut down.
Yeah. You could go there and wear a mask, but now you can't go there at all. It's such a bummer. She's just like a nice lady who runs a gym, and she's like my buddy. And she's just like, I'm sorry, Katie. Like, you get a personal email from her. I'm so sorry, Katie. You can't come because blah, blah. And I'm like, girl, I get it. Don't worry about me. Like, I'm okay. Like, your gym has to close. I'm worried about you. What can I do for you? You know, she's just such a nice woman. Her name is Joy. Go to Joy's gym in Benicia, everybody. It's called Benicia Fitness on First Street. Anyway, this is the lady who, I don't know if you guys remember, but for a while there, I had that exercise bike here that's like a $3,000 stationary bike that I was getting so into spinning classes right before Corona hit. And I like don't get into exercise things. And I got into it and I was so happy. I was like, I'm moving my body in a way that's fun. And Joy, whose gym it is, taught the class I was going to. It's like that intimate. So when Corona hit, she just emailed me and was like, I know you just started spin. Do you want me to bring you one of the stationary bikes? You could just have it. What? And so I had the bike there forever. And of course I did not use it. So I got it back to her. But the point is, like, that's who she is. That's how generous and sweet. And so, yeah, I guess we all have our things we've heard about how things are for surezies not open now, which feels like good timing to tell the story. And then if you guys are down, I'd love to open both of your records and mine again, like the three of ours, if you guys are into it.
Sure.
Because the energy is like the collective of the three of us. It's always stronger when there's more than one person. And I think we could just get some good intel, and we could get some specific stuff for each of you if you have questions about any of the intel.
I just want to admit that since my last record opening, I have done none of the work. So as long as you're okay going back into my muddy, murky tomb of dusty records, I would love to be part of it.
That is fantastic.
Thank you for admitting.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, we'll see. I think they just want us to talk about the collective and channel some info for everybody.
I mean, I'm kind of interested in some universal, like, humanity guidance today. I don't know. That is what is tickling the back of my brain.
That sounds good. I think that's good. And I think if we open R3 and also maybe open for the collective again, that reads as a yes. That we can get some good info. So as a precursor, I'm going to tell this story now. I have to stretch to get ready for the story.
Yeah, it's a little terrifying, and I try and shove this story into the dark recesses of my brain and not and not look at it. It's okay. It's what it is.
Well, I think it carries a different kind of weight for me, wherein it's like I've told enough people now, and if we're gonna do this here, it's like I'm gonna look like a real fucking dumbass if this shit doesn't happen. Like I've told,
and that's cool.
I mean, also I'm fine with it, but my point being is it's a risky story all around because it's intense for people to hear, and then it's intense for me to tell it. So it'll be cool to open the records after and just see hey guys, is this still reading? Is this still true? Is this part still true? Is that part still true? Should we change the narrative? I'm wide open to maybe that was information for that time, maybe not. So, okay, I'm just thinking about if I should say people's real names. Are you up for beeping things this week, Desmond, or shall I say, okay, you're the best. I feel like I want to take things off your plate, not put more things on your plate. So I'll say fake names because they're entertaining. They're entertaining. Fake names are fun, right?
Can you say Gern Blanston for one of them?
I'm writing it down.
Okay. Gern Blanston.
Blanston. I love you so much.
That's a deep Steve Martin cut for you.
Oh, the jerk?
No, it's just from one of his routines, and I just love it. That name so much. It makes me happy.
It's so good.
I mean, if you're going to tell a dark tale of apocalypse, you might as well throw in some funny names.
That's true. What's another one like that? I feel like I have a backlog of those, but none of them are coming to my mind right now.
Incontinentia buckets.
What? What?
I think that is a Mel Brooks reference. Incontinentia buckets. Oh, and here's my favorite one.
Okay.
This was a name I saw in a movie credits once. She was like, the best grip or something. Hortensia Colorado.
Ooh, that's pretty good. I'm writing these down.
You don't have to use their full names. I mean, you can just go with Hortensia, but...
Somebody said to me, yes, we were on a walk. I think was telling me about someone he knows named California is their first name. Yeah. We were talking about, because his kid's name is Indiana, which I love, and they're having another kid. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're having another kid. Like, for sure, the babe, she's like showing. It's happening. And I was like, well, you could go with another state. So we were joking about like what states are baby name worthy. And I was like, pretty much I feel like if you do anything but Florida, you're safe. Like,
and there are, I'm sure, people named Florida out there.
I'm sure there are.
You've got Utah Phillips. You've got... If
you think about it, like a lot of them are pretty... Like Dakota is a good name.
I know a Dakota, yeah.
Kentucky. I wouldn't mind Kentucky. I could meet a man named Kentucky.
Mississippi's a weird name, maybe. I don't know if I've ever met anybody named Mississippi.
Okay, I'm writing down the ones that don't work. Mississippi. Kansas? I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
No, it's interesting.
Arkansas?
No.
No? Arkansas.
Missouri is too close to misery.
Missouri and Arkansas. Cassidy says no.
But maybe Missouri. That's kind of a beautiful name. And
Arkansas, I could see like he has a truck and a mustache and a gun. And he's just a nice guy. He just likes hunting. He likes hunting and he's a nice guy. Arkansas.
Rhode Island. No, that doesn't quite work.
No. I'm writing these down to send to them to be like, okay, we figured it out. These are the ones you can't do. New York is too weird.
Yeah, anyone that's like a descriptive.
New Hampshire, can't do it.
But Hampshire maybe is kind of a cute name.
That's true. Hampshire.
All the news are just take the new off. Jersey, cool name. Hey,
Jersey.
What's up? My name's Jersey.
I'm from Missouri.
I'm really confused.
I don't know who I am anymore.
My name's Island. Oh, you mean Road?
Road is a good name, isn't it? Road. I kind of like that. RHODE. Anyway, okay. So
here we go.
We're going to use fun, entertaining names to make the story better. And I will preempt this story by saying, I do declare that I don't believe that this is an apocalyptic story. Like, I don't think the world is ending. There were a few minutes there where I wasn't sure. I think it's going to be a time of a lot of disaster and hardship, but I don't think it's like a species-wide shutdown. So that's a thing. I also feel like I should preempt the story by saying that I told this story at Shotgun Theater at a storytelling event with somebody awesome who produced that show. A guy, a man, he produced it. I can't think of his name. I feel terrible. We'll find it and we'll put it in later. It was Gern Blanston. That's who did it. He wears really heavy steel-toed boots. He put together a great show. The thing I'm about to say had just happened like days before I booked the show. And so I said to the guy when he was asking me if I wanted to do it, I said, would you be open to me telling a story of the following nature? And I kind of gave him the gist. And he's like, you have to tell that story. So I told it. There were about 100 people there that night, close to it. It was packed at Shotgun. How many people fit in there? 100?
About, yeah.
Something like that. And since then, I've sort of wondered if it was the right thing to do. Yeah, I mean, I had a couple come up to me after a few people came up to me and said things like, well, that was a funny story. You're a charming lady. Where do you come up with that stuff? And I was like, remember the part at the beginning where I said all of the things I'm about to say are true? I said that to them, of course, and because I'm me. And they looked at me like, oh, okay. And then they just couldn't take that in. They just wouldn't hear that it was true, which is understandable. And then other people a couple came up to me and said, like, we're in escrow on a house on Stinson Beach, which I talk about in the story. Should we not get this house? I mean, I don't know them. I'm not a real estate person, but I know the story and I know what getting a yes is in the records. So I said, like, if it were me, I wouldn't, but I really don't know what you should do. I'm sorry that my story has made you feel uncomfortable, and I'm really sorry. Really sorry. Like, I just felt bad. They're not going to buy their fucking house. But at the same time, knowing what I know, I'm kind of like, well, don't buy that fucking house. Or get ready to sell it real quick. Or get ready to just have a real serious mess in your kitchen. It's fine. You could do whatever you want. But anyway, it's a really weird position to be in. And I feel like I put other people in a really weird position by telling them the story. But it also feels like, hey, if I say it, at least I've given people an opportunity to do what they want with it or not. You know what I mean? Like, if I knew that there was an anvil about to drop on your head, Cassidy, and I was like, nah, it's not my business to tell him. Like, was that the right thing to do? Or is the right thing to do to be like, move left?
Right. Or is it crying fire in a crowded theater?
Right.
That's the standard phrase. It's like, are you inducing panic or are you just sharing information? And also, like you said, like, these things exist on a plane of possibility.
Yeah.
Well, we should tell a story before we theorize much more about it.
But crying fire in a theater, isn't that, like, what if there were an actual fire and you yelled fire?
Right. But even that, you're not supposed to just go, fire, freak out. You're supposed to say, ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to the exits in a orderly but brisk fashion.
Yeah.
It's very important that you remain calm and exit the theater very quickly, as opposed to fire, and then everyone tramples each other.
Okay,
and,
good point.
Right. Like the privilege of reaction. Like, I'm closest to the exit, so I didn't die.
So how do we make this that? How do we make it where I'm telling the story now, but we're saying to, human beings listening, when you hear this story, if you're a sensitive person and believe stuff like this, slowly and gently pack your bags in a calm and relaxed way. But don't panic, please, because that won't help you. It really won't.
If you have the privilege of avoidance.
Well, yeah.
The ability to react and uproot or, make different choices is in itself a privilege. Like
100%.
Yeah. Like the people who, they have a really nice house, but they just got a gorgeous RV to put their family in and go on a 2-month vacation to wait it out. That's.
I know. I really know. I mean, that's another reason in my mind to tell the story is for people who, like, maybe you can't afford an RV, but you can, like, go on a long camping trip in fucking Reno for a couple months. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. All right, here's the story. We're going to do it. I just think I need to do it. We're going to do it. Okay.
Great.
Okay. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. It's just so weird what we're doing. I appreciate you holding space when it's just, I really do. I appreciate you being a little more 3D than me and being willing to hear weird 5D stuff. Okay, so I was dating Eric Vogler. That's his real name. And he and I are currently back together, but at the time it was our first time together. We were having a really hard time in our relationship. We were in couples therapy. Couples therapy was tough for me. It wasn't going well in my little point of view about what going well would have meant at that time. So we were kind of breaking up. It felt like a process of breaking up. There were times where I would get hopeful and be like, maybe we can. But in my heart of hearts, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to stick this out if this is going to be like this. And it was tough because we really love each other a whole lot. So it was like really just a hard time. You remember, I was probably telling you all about it, right?
Yeah.
And you might have even heard about it, Des, on some like feet first gigs, like just me being like, I can't therapy. By the way, any feet first gig, feet first features heavily in this story. It does. Isn't that funny? And that's how the three of us kind of know each other, is through
Feed
this
First is a company that does eventertainment. They're a lovely group of human beings who put on events, games, and fun puzzle hunts that all three of us have worked for in some capacity at some point.
Right. So they hire actors and improvisers and just creative, awesome people to lead.
To fling chickens at targets.
Yup, to lead games for groups of people from Facebook to give Facebook employees like a team building event. So it's like a team building game company. And one of the games they do, or one of the things they do, is do adult scavenger hunts where they'll put a bunch of us in costumes, and the people in costumes, like we go out to Angel Island. We take a bunch of Facebook people out to Angel Island. I'm dressed in a full head to toe disco costume. And the people have to find me on a scavenger hunt, and I make them do a dance and take a video of them doing a dance, and it's all silly fun times. So my point being, and we'll come back to that in a second. Feed First is how the three of us know each other. Well, Cass and I know each other through plays, but like we also did that together. And Des, I met you through Feed First. That's so funny. I didn't even think about that. Anyway, you guys, I'm so sorry. I hear my cat meowing relentlessly, and she doesn't do that. I think she's trapped in a room. I'm so sorry. 2 seconds. Let me just let her out. Kismet.
What happened?
She was, in fact, trapped in a closet that's very small.
Oh.
She was like under a pillow meowing, and I was like, why is the cat? She never meows like that. But that closet in the hallway had been open for a second this morning. And I was tidying and I closed it. I didn't know she was in there. Kismet. Okay, so Eric and I were dating for 2 years, deep in a relation, having a hard time in the couples therapy, kind of going through a breakup process. About a month before we actually broke up, I went on a Feet First gig where I was wearing the disco costume I had a full kind of like Jew fro, like a white lady afro kind of, and then like big red sunglasses that cover most of my face, and a pink sparkly neck to toe fitted disco costume where it's like all sparkles. We get on the boat. We get on a boat called the Pow Maker. I'm gonna make up names. The Pow Maker boat. We get on it in the Berkeley Marina, and the Feet First group gets on, and then the client, Facebook or Oracle or whoever it is, the group of them gets on the boat. I noticed on this particular day that there's a new bartender, and I noticed that he's like tall and he's a redhead, and he's just new. There's always a bartender on this boat, right? And I'm just like, oh, that guy's new. You're already laughing. I'm excited.
I'm remembering this part of the story because I was there for the reunion later.
You
Go
were?
on.
Which reunion?
Yeah, it was during our play. There was an art gallery involved.
Oh, it's a good story. God, that's right. Oh my God. Okay, so new bartender, tall guy, red hair. I go over and just order a Diet Coke because that's what I do. And he and I start bantering. And we have some nice chemistry. And we're like laughing and talking. And it's a little flirty vibe a little bit. But I'm like in a relationship, and I'm not going to like do anything creepy, but we're like having a real hard time. So I'm enjoying kind of flirting with this guy, and I'm not thinking I'm gonna like do anything about it, but I'm aware like, okay, Katie, be careful, you're flirting right now. There's like a real spark here, like let's tread lightly. So we get on the boat, we take the boat over to Angel Island, we take the clients on the scavenger hunt, we finish that, we get back on the boat, we come back to the Berkeley Marina, and the day is winding up, and I'm standing by the door on the boat, and it's kind of time to go. I'm still wearing the frickin' costume because sometimes on those gigs I would like take the costume off because I'm over it. But other times I'm like, I'm too lazy to take the freaking costume off. I'll just leave my weird disco outfit on. And Scott Lifton, who was running that gig that day, at a certain point, I looked across the boat and I looked at the bartender again, and I saw him kind of make a gesture with his hands like, where are you going? You're leaving? Because we'd like really hit it off as people. And I made a gesture back at him as if to say like, sorry, I gotta, job's over, I gotta go. But also inside I was like, I can't like talk to you more because I'm like in a thing and I'm not gonna do that. So then the bartender puts his finger up as if to say, just give me 1 minute. And he turns around after saying like, give me 1 minute, pointing his finger in the air. He turns around, and I'm thinking to myself, he's probably like writing his number on a napkin. to give it to me. And just then, Scott Lifton, my boss on the Feed First job, he's like, Katie, we got to go, and pulls my arm a little bit. He's like, look over here and move off the boat. And he kind of pulls me off the boat. And that was the end of that. And I remember thinking, interesting. Like, that's kind of a bummer. That could have been a something. Who knows what that could have been? But like, I'm not in a space, and Eric and I need to work through our thing, and okay, bye. But it definitely made an impression, and it was hard to not remember. Like, I met that person and it made an impression. Okay, cut to 3 months later. 3 months later for the listener. 3 months later. People always ask me, wait, when did it happen? 3 months later, Eric and I had officially broken up about a month after this first event I just described. Now, you and I, Cassidy, are in a play, and we're in rehearsal on Union Square. Not the Berkeley Marina where the boat moment happened. Union Square, far, far away, across a bridge, in the middle of like the busiest part of San Francisco. We're in rehearsal on Geary Street. And in this particular day, on the way to rehearsal, I had taken BART, which was rare for me. I didn't take BART. I drive a lot. But anyway, I had walked by these 4 art galleries that are on Geary Street. And I remember thinking, as I walked by the art gallery, I did a little Katie's version of judgmental assessment of the art galleries. And I thought quite clearly in my mind, bad art, good art, bad art. And I thought to myself, on my lunch break, I'm just going to wander into that art gallery that seems like it might have some quote unquote good art in it. And I'm going to go over there and just see what's up. 4 art galleries next to each other. Only one of them seems to have, from my weird point of view, good art in it. Big quotes around the word good. So I go into the good art gallery, and there's a man and a woman there. And they're like alone, and they clearly run the place together in some capacity. The man is wearing like a gray cap and dark glasses, like dark rimmed glasses. And the woman is like this beautiful blonde, and they're just like besties. And you could just feel that they're really good friends, but they're also coworkers. I hit it off with both of them immediately. We're like best friends. We're banter, back and forth. Good time, Charlie, laughing and laughing. This art, that art, we're commenting. We're all very smart and enjoying our little smart comments about the art. We're making jokes. It was like I made 2 best friends like in the blink of an eye. So we talked like the whole lunch break, and I had a great time talking to them, and I thought, those guys are fun. That was fun. I'm going to come visit them again. So I left the gallery. I didn't think that much of it. Went back to rehearsal. Couple days later, I thought, I'm going to go back and see how those gallery guys are. Lunch break comes. I'm on Union Square. I walk over to the gallery. I go in. Same guy. Gray cap, black glasses, blonde woman. This time they're looking through 3D glasses at the art just because they're having fun and they have nothing else to do. They're like, let's get trippy with the art and look at 3D. So I walk in and they're like, oh, hey, it's you from before. And I'm like, it's me from before. And they hand me some 3D glasses and I put them on, and we're all looking at the art together through the 3D glasses. And there was weird, trippy stuff you could see when you looked that way. And it was cool. It was like certain pieces of the art would just like jump out at you. And so we're just having a good old time. This time I noticed that the guy at the gallery he's flirting. He's kind of flirting with me. And it surprised me because I kind of thought he and the lady he ran the place with had like a thing going on. So I was like, oh, I guess maybe he's flirting with me now. And I noticed it. Now, remember, this is 3 months later. So I'm broken up with Eric. We're not together. I'm a free agent. And it made an impression. I thought, I like that guy. I'm going to go back to that gallery and flirt some more with him. So I leave. We make promises to each other. Like the 2 of them are like, we are coming to your play and we're going to bring all our artsy friends. And I go, I am coming back to this gallery and I'm going to bring all my actor friends in here. It's going to be great. So we're like buds now. Okay, later that day, I'm in Berkeley, back across the bridge in Berkeley, doing my laundry at a laundromat because my apartment at the time did not have laundry machines. So I'm staring at the wall of laundry machines, and it creates kind of like a flat white surface. There's like laundry machine next to each other. And it's all white. And I'm kind of just staring at it I'm just letting my laundry clean. And I get a ping on my phone and I pick it up and I've got a DM on Instagram from a person whose name I don't recognize. It's like a private message on Instagram. And it's a picture of the 3D glasses from the gallery. And the words under the picture say, you left these here. I guess you're going to have to come back and get them. And I realize it's the gallery guy. He has somehow found me on Instagram. Like, he knew my name, but that's all he knew. Found me on Instagram, private messaged me, sent a flirty picture of some 3D glasses. And I'm super flattered, right? So I go, oh my God, he went to some effort. He tried, this guy. So I write back and I go, I say some flirty like, oh, I guess I will. I'll have to see you tomorrow on my London. Looking forward to it. Eggplant, emoji, winky face, high five. You know, some like, yes, I'm interested kind of energy, right?
I'm glad to hear that your digital flirt game is on point. Send that eggplant.
To be clear, in reality, I'm certain I did not send an eggplant emoji, but
I'm going to hang on to the fact that you did.
For the sake of storytelling, let's say that I did. So I put the phone down and now I'm like kind of buzzy because I'm like, somebody likes me and I like him and that feels fun. I put the phone down and now I'm just staring again at the blank white wall of the washing machines. Out of nowhere, and in a way that I've never experienced before, on the right side of my field of vision outside of my brain, okay, so not inside my brain, but on projected like from a projector on the white wall of the washing machines to the right side of my field of vision is the face of the guy from the boat, the redheaded guy. And then projected from like my left eye, my left field of vision in front of me on the washing machines is the face of the gallery guy. And the two faces, there was a sound effect with this motion. The sound went like, so I hear in my ears, and I see with my eyes the right image and the left image merge into one image, and I realize in that moment it's the same guy. And I've now met him 3 separate times, and I did not recognize him from the boat because I was later to discover he was not wearing his cap or his glasses. So he was a tall redheaded guy on the boat, but in the gallery he was a tall be-capped, be-speckled guy. And I didn't see the red hair because it was fully covered by his cap. I didn't recognize him. He didn't recognize me for 2 reasons. 1, I was wearing a freaking afro and red sunglasses and a sparkly costume. And 2, he has that condition that I'm not going to remember the name of right now. It's not a...
Face blindness.
That. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called face blindness.
Okay, great. Where he doesn't remember faces.
Yeah.
You have to like meet him a bunch of times and he has to actively intend to be like, okay, this face, okay, lips that look like, okay, that is called Katie Rubin. Like he doesn't have the ability organically to remember faces. So he doesn't remember me, but we've now met 3 times and I've just realized it through a weird projected vision in the fucking laundromat. So I pick up my phone and I text him and I go, I have a weird question for you. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way that a guy who runs a gallery on Geary Street in San Francisco also works on the boat in the Berkeley Marina as a bartender. There's no way. I don't know why I thought that.
Welcome to the world of the arts hustle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm in the arts hustle, so I don't know why I was so confused. So I message him. I go, I don't suppose you work on a boat in the Berkeley Marina. And he goes, how did you know that? Yeah, I work on the whatever I said the boat was called, the Pow Blaster, whatever I called it. And I go, you're not going to believe what I have to tell you. Do you remember a couple months ago flirting with a lady with a big afro on and a pink disco costume? And he writes back in the DM on Instagram in all capital letters, my disco darling? Question mark, question mark, question mark. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, wait, this is the lady with the pink disco and the fro and the red glasses? I go, yeah, that's me. He goes, and you're telling me you're the lady who just walked into my gallery twice and we had all that chemistry? I go, that's what I'm saying. And he goes, after I met you that day, I took extra shifts on the boat that week because I wanted to see you again. I thought Feet First comes on all the time. They'll come back. You never came back. He said they had a staff party where they invited a bunch of their clients, their favorite clients, to come to the staff party. And he wasn't working that night. So he, by choice, went to the staff party because he was hoping I would come. And I didn't. And by the way, I never did a Feet First gig after that again. Like, That was my last fucking feat, first gig. Dunzo. He goes, do you remember when you were, he's tripping out now. He's like, what? He goes, do you remember when I put my finger up, like the number 1, and I said, wait a second, when you were leaving the boat? And I go, oh, I remember, bro. And he goes, I turned around and wrote my number on a napkin, and I have never before in my life had the balls to do that. He's like, it's not really my style, but like, I was like, I like this girl. She's disarming. I'm going to give her my number. He said, actually, he talked to his coworker and he said, I like her. What do I do? And the coworker, who was a woman, said, give her your fucking number. And so he was like, wait. And he was writing his number down to give to me. And he said he turned back around and I was gone. So he took the extra shifts and he went to the staff party, but never saw me again. And so eventually he gave up. He forgot about it. So here it is 3 months later and I'm back twice. He says, would you please go on a date with me? And I go, I would be an insane maniac if I said no. Of course I'll go on a date with you. We go on a date like the next day. We go on a day date. We go to the San Francisco Art Museum. We have a fantastic date. I'm going to kind of clip through the rest of the story because I'm aware of time. We hit it off. Great chemistry. We're talking about art. We're having a good time. He's cute. He's smart. We have a wonderful time. We end up like making out on the streets of Union Square. He's real tall, so he like lifts me up, and I'm like against a brick building, and he like spins me around, and we make out on a street corner, and I'm in an Audrey Hepburn movie. It's like lovely. For the next 2 months, we proceed to just bone day and night. It's just a lovely sex affair. It's just like sexy, 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 bone time, bone. Bone, 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 lots and lots of bone. Okay? I honestly don't remember what else we did. We chit-chatted and we had sex. That's kind of what we did.
That's about how you described it to me, I feel like, at the time.
Right?
Yeah,
okay.
That was about the narrative. Chit-chat and boning.
Yeah, and like we both kept marveling. He and I, we'd be like, hey, by the way, his name was Gern Blanston.
Yes, that's what I remember too.
He kept saying to me every now and again, he'd be like, how is it that I've known you like a week and a half and I have a toothbrush at your apartment? I never do that. We both were just like in. It was odd. So Bone Town. About 2 months go by and I start to realize, okay, you know what? This is actually not a long-term match for me. Like I'm looking for some different stuff. He's not those things. This has been fun. But I realized like, you know, I think this is kind of winding down for me. I start to like the sex drive kind of goes away. But beyond that, just on the personal level, I'm kind of just like, okay, this isn't really going to be a thing. I realized that on like a Monday, but he and I have bought theater tickets for that Friday and we've paid a fair amount of money. So I don't want to break it off before Friday because I'm like, oh man, we already paid for the... What is he going to go and I'm going to go and we're going to be broken up? It's too weird. I'll just wait, which you could argue that's a terrible idea. So cut to that Friday. As it happens, I had a healing client scheduled for 4:00 in the afternoon that Friday on the telephone. So I was going to do a psychic reading through the Akashic Records like we do here on the podcast and bring some healing energy through for this lady at 3:00 or 4:00 on a Friday afternoon. Same Friday, we're going to go see the play, me and the guy, Gern. So Gern says, why don't you do your healing session at my apartment on the phone? Because I live really close to the theater, which he did at the time. And then we'll walk to see the play after. And I go, perfect. So 4:00 rolls around on Friday. Remember, in the pit of my stomach, I have that feeling you get when you're like, I got to break up with this dude. And he's such a nice guy. And I wish I didn't have to. And I feel like a dick, you know, but I have to. I just know, you know. So there I am. I'm in his bedroom and I'm doing an Akashic Records reading for this woman in his bedroom, Gern's bedroom. I'm on the phone with a client. She's in like Nebraska or something. And we're on the phone. Gern, is in his living room. The session ends with the client. I do the reading. I do some healing work for her. The session ends and I close her records, but my own records happen to be open also, just for people's information. I don't always open my own records before a healing session with someone, but a lot of times I do because it helps me to kind of steep in the high vibe energy for a while and get myself at that frequency so that I'm really ready to work with someone else's energy field. Anyway, my records were still open. I closed the lady's records. She hung up the phone. The session was over. And I heard very distinctly my guides, my record keepers say, Why don't you ask Gern? I caught it. Why don't you ask, sorry, Desmond. Why don't you ask Gern if he has a question? And I go, okay. So I go, hey, Gern, do you have any questions? My records are open, and sometimes I can hear, information for other people in my own records, or we could open your records. Like, do you have any questions? And he goes, oh, yeah, sure. I have a couple questions. He comes into the bedroom. It's his own bedroom, remember? He sits down on the bed and he asks a couple things, my job, my family, this, that. Time goes by and I go, look, we're wrapping up here. Do you have any final questions? He goes, yeah, he's real casual. Yeah, I have one more question. And I go, cool, what is it? He goes, do I die on October 10th, 2020 in a cataclysmic world event where hundreds of other people die with me? Now, I don't know about you, listener to this story, but for me, I don't know how you would feel if someone asked you that question and you had to tell them the answer to that question based on your own spidey sense psychic awareness. But that's a pretty charged moment. Before I can say anything to him, I'm getting the biggest yes ever. Yes, yes, all day, yes. Yes, so much yes, yes. But I don't want to just say yes. I want to get a little more info first. So I say to him, why do you ask? And he says, when I was 17, I think this is how it went. He was playing touch football in the backyard of his childhood home. All of a sudden he gets really tired and he has to lay down and take a nap. And he's like, that never happened. It was weird. Takes a nap, falls asleep on his living room couch, goes to sleep, has a dream that is wildly vivid. In the dream, he goes to a Home Depot. In the Home Depot, there's a whiteboard on the wall, and written in black ink on the whiteboard is the phrase, the rent is due on your body, 10/10/2020. And he says that in the dream, when he had the dream, he's 17 years old when he had it, he remembered having the awareness in his body come through that he wouldn't die alone, that sentence meant he would die, that was his death date, and that hundreds of other people would die with him. So he's been carrying that with him his whole life. He's 43 at the time that we're doing the reading. He's had a couple psychics look at it with him. He's thought about it. He's meditated on it. He's gotten his life to the place where he feels like he's living his best life. He's not missing out on anything. So he's kind of at peace with the whole idea. I, however, am just learning all of this. And I'm sitting with a guy who I think I need to break up with. And apparently I'm about to confirm the date of his death. So I say, all right, well, it sounds like you're telling me you've sat with this a long time and you feel comfortable with whatever I might say in this moment. He's like, oh yeah, I'm ready. Just go ahead and tell me what you get. And I'm like, well, I get a big fat yes. And I think we need to ask a lot of questions now to get some clarity here. So we sat there for a long time and just asked a lot of questions. And we started with questions about, well, why is it so set in stone? Can't he, what if it's an earthquake, for example, can't he move to a different city? Or if it's a disease, can't he start dealing with it now? Or if it's you know what I'm saying? You could get away from a thing. Every question I asked in the records about this, and by the way, I opened his records. So I'm in his records asking all this. I'm like, can he take a vaccine? Can he go to the hospital? Can he move to Peru? Can he what? Everything is a no. No, 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 no. That date is the date, period. And there's no escaping it. He's totally fine with this information. I'm a little tripped out because I'm like, all right. After that, we sat there for a while asking a lot of other questions because there was the second part of what he had learned in the dream when he was 17, which was that there was this cataclysmic world event where hundreds of other people die. So, of course, I was curious to find out what the fuck that was. I asked a lot of questions, and what I came away with was the following information. This was, by the way, 2018, when I'm getting this information. 2018. I think it was late summer, I think. Anyway, we got this information, that in the fall of 2020, 10/10/2020, there would be at least one tidal wave caused by a very large earthquake off the coast of California, rampant, devastating fires, the electrical grids would go down, electricity problems in California, civil war and possible global war, but definite civil unrest. The image was people with guns looting, outside of people's buildings. And then there was this fifth element. Like I kept checking in with them, like what kind of cataclysmic world event? And I kept getting yeses. Yes, fire. Yes, tidal wave. Yes. Then there was a fifth one, but I couldn't like get it. I couldn't put my finger on it. So Gern and I are now armed with all this information. We close the records. We go to this fucking play. The next day, he and I break up. And it was like a really easy breakup. It was really strange. Like we had an argument the next day. And then I was like, I think this isn't working. And he was like, yeah, you're probably right. And then we just were done. It took like 5 minutes. Nobody was mad. Nothing weird. And then like the day after that, I remember we texted each other. He wrote me like, no hard feelings, right? You're good. I was like, actually, yeah. You? He's like, yeah. And we like high-fived it out and we were just done. It was just like bing, bing, done. At that moment when the breakup was so easy, I realized like, I see. This is why we were forced together 3 different times. He needed this confirmation about his death, and I needed to learn about the fall of 2020. Cut to a couple days later, I call my buddy William, who was on this podcast, actually, who's a very talented healer. And I say to him, I tell him the story. I go, do you have a minute? And I tell him this whole fucking story because I'm tripped out now. And I'm like by myself with this information about California. It's 2018. There's no coronavirus yet, right? I'm tripping out. I've made a weird choice to like tell a few people, and I've gotten some weird reactions from people, but some people are really open to it. I told some friends in Colorado and they were like, yeah, that's why we live in Colorado. We know about this thing. We left years ago because we knew this was coming. And I'm like, huh. Other people I tell and they're like, well, now I feel fucked up and confused. So I stopped telling people because obviously it's just too much it's just a weird fucking thing to tell people. But I had let a few people in on it. I call William. I go, look, I need you to use your spidey senses here with me and see what you're getting. So I start to tell him the story and he goes, hold on a second. And I remember I was driving my car at the time and he said, are you driving? I go, yeah. He goes, you might want to pull over. I was like, what? That's like shit you say in a movie, but like, I can drive a car. Come on. And he says, you are describing to me. I tell him the whole thing about Gern and I tell him all the things we got in the records. And he goes, you're describing to me the Hopi prophecy about what would happen in the fall of 2020. Now, the Hopi prophecy is at that very moment, William says to me, I can't stop reading the Hopi prophecy. I can't stop reading it. I'm thinking about it all the time. His girlfriend at the time had a dream where she was like on the front lines of this war and she's fighting and she realizes she's a spiritual warrior. And so they had been having, William and his girlfriend, talks about like the Hopi prophecy and her dream and how it was the same and how they were realizing like, we have to get out of California before the fall of 2020. And they had been talking about that together before I said any of my story to them. So I tell him the story and he goes, holy fuck, you're describing the Hopi prophecy. You're describing what me and Kathy, his girlfriend, had been talking about the last 3 days relentlessly. We have to get together, the 3 of us, and have a conversation. So we did. We got together and I opened the records for all 3 of us and we got some intel. Everything was confirmed. We got the confirmation that the 3 of us it's in our highest good anyway, to get out of California before the fall of 2020 and to move all 3 of us to the Four Corners area in Colorado. They want to go to Durango. And at the time I was like, something's not right about that. And so for the next 2 years, since the fall of, since 2018 to now, I've been opening my records and being like, still am I leaving California? Still is this happening? Still is this real? And there were a couple months there in 2019 where the energy on it was kind of vague. It wasn't a yes, it wasn't a no. It was kind of like, maybe. And then Corona hit. And I went into the records and I said, oh, is that the 5th element? The 5th thing that I couldn't put my finger on? And they said, yes. Because it wasn't in my consciousness to include pandemic viruses. So they were like, yeah, that's the 5th thing. So ever since I asked that time, which was just like, I don't know, 2 months ago, I keep getting that when Corona hit, that was like the start of it. And it's going to ramp up and get a lot worse in California in the fall. Because right now, what is it, July? So we have July, August, September-ish. And then October, November, I think is not going to be good to be in California. Now, does that mean like the whole state is going to fall into the ocean? No. But what I've been getting is like very high numbers of percentages of, like I keep asking, show me what percentage of California will be like fucked. And the percentages are way higher than I like. And so that's the story. The end of it, which happened recently, was I met a woman here in Benicia, where I live now, who, I have to stretch again after telling that story. She's a visual artist, and she said to me, we met and we became buddies, and I liked her art so much that one day I said, you know, I got to connect you with my old buddy Gern. I wonder how Gern's doing, first of all. I wonder where he is. I wonder how his health is, you know, and I wonder if he would help you with your art, because her art is so beautiful. So I connected the two of them. And in so doing, he and I said hi to each other and kind of caught up a little bit. And I go, you know, how are you? Could I connect you with this artist? And he says, well, yeah, sure. But FYI, I don't live in the Bay Area anymore. And I go, oh, where do you live? And he goes, I got my dream job. I'm the head of the museum on Catalina Island.
Right. Off the coast.
A teeny speck of land off the coast of California, smaller than the tip of my pinky finger, that you could swallow up real easy with a nice, simple tidal wave, or a fire, or a pandemic, whatever. It's just the easiest way to die, pretty much. So I said to him, like, we hadn't talked in a couple years, and I said, Gern, you're seriously telling me you moved to Catalina Island? He goes, yeah. I told you, Katie, I'm surrendered to my life. I'm not running from this thing. This is my dream job. I'm happy here. He also described it like, he's like, Catalina Island is like a land of magical wizards. There's like deers everywhere and everything's beautiful. He's like, I see sprites in the yard and I'm starting to see other dimensions. And I'm thinking, yeah, because you're dying. That's what happens, by the way, for a lot of people. They get really tapped into the other realms when they're on their way out. I mean, you've heard of, you know how it is. People in hospice, they see lights. Right. People, not near-death experience, you see a tunnel, you know. So that's that. So you can imagine, since all this hit, the corona, I've just been like asking a lot in the records, like, okay, I guess I am going to have to leave California, huh? Which is a big deal for me personally. Everything is here. Everyone is here. I just moved to this great apartment. I don't know. I live in a Shangri-La on the water, like. And then there's the whole, what's going to happen to all my friends who live here, including you two and everyone I know. And so I've been sitting with, do I talk about this or not? And it's like, again, is it more useful to know or not know? Because we all have our path. And I'll tell you something, here to that point, I keep having this experience over and over again. Do you guys know an actress named
Incontinentia Buckets?
You know her, Cassidy?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you know this. She and I just, quote unquote, randomly, coincidentally, she found me on Marco Polo the other day and just said, which is an app, if you don't know, on your phone where you video conference with people. And she sent me a little video. Hey, Katie Rubin, I'm on Marco Polo. You're on Marco Polo? And I haven't talked to her in like a year or two. And I go, yeah, girl, hey. And I'm like, hi, how are you? We're chit-chatty back and forth on Marco Polo. I go, how are you? What's going on? She's like, oh, man, me and Joe got out of California. We're like so happy. We're like, something weird's happening with that state. We were out of there. So they live in Philadelphia now. Everyone I run into is like, I had a student email me the other day and say like, hey, I was going to take your online writing class. Can I do it from anywhere in the world? And I go, yeah, why? She goes, oh, I just left California on a whim. I'm in Denver now. I go, my buddies, like at the last second, were like, yeah, we're moving to Oregon. They're moving to Oregon, by the way, in the beginning of August. Everybody, like not everybody, but I just keep, everyone I talk to is like, yeah, I sold my house. Yeah, I'm out of here. Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, we're just, I don't know. We're not sure. We're just leaving. Then there's the weird thing of the fact that my neighbors here in my apartment complex, I think I might have told you this, Cass, day one, I move into this apartment in Benicia. Day one, I'm moving in. I'm walking in the door. There's this young couple and I go, oh, hey, I'm Katie. I just moved in. Nice to meet you. Backstory, me and William and Kathy had been having all these conversations about Durango. We're opening the records. Should we all move to Durango? Is Durango where we're going? Colorado, Four Corners, Durango. Can't stop talking about Durango. I moved to Benicia. I'm walking in my apartment. There's this young couple, random couple. I go, hey, I'm Katie. They go, oh, hey, we live here. We can show you around. We'll tell you all the things. Our house that we actually own is in Durango, Colorado. You'll never have heard of it. And I go, I'm sorry, where is your house? They go, Durango. And I go, okay, well, and this was around November of this year. And I said to them, I have planned a road trip to drive to Durango, Colorado, which I, by the way, then did in December, if you guys remember. I don't know. Anyway.
I do. Yeah.
I did that. And I said, I was just about to get an Airbnb in Durango. And they were like, oh, no, stay at our house for free. And it's what I'm saying is everywhere I turn, it at that time, it was like, yes, you're correct. Yes, you're correct. I'll tell you one last little thing, and then we can do what we have to do here. Sydney Schwint. We know Sydney Schwint. I went to a party at Scott Lifton's house right after all this happened with Gern Blanston. And I sit down at the party. Sydney Schwint sits to my left, and her then man friend is on my right. Okay? You remember she had a man friend for a while?
Yeah.
Okay. Sydney turns to me and says, out of fucking nowhere, Katie, I'm thinking of moving to Colorado, but it feels like, I have all this like stuff going on in California, but it feels like I kind of have to get out of California and move to Colorado. This is like a day after all this happened. And I'm like, then the dude to my right, her dude at the time, says to me out of nowhere, not because Sydney said the thing, just out of nowhere. She's like in the kitchen or something. And he says to me, I know you're like really spiritual and stuff. I recently met John of God. I think it was John of God or one of those guys. And John of God told me to get out of California and move to Colorado. What do you think about that? Out of fucking no fucking where. So, needless to say, it's been an interesting couple years of me processing this information. And when Corona hit, I was pretty like, wow, here we go. So I know that we only have about 25 minutes right now. I fucked everything up this week, and I have basically I have therapy at 12:40 today. I'm kind of wondering if you guys have time later today to get back on so we have a little more time to do a real reading on this.
I do. I could get back on later this afternoon, I think, for a little while. Because we'll just jump right, like we could cut here and then like jump right in.
Yeah. Before we hop off, though, I do want to sort of see how you're doing, Desmond.
It's just weird because it's just so much more known/unknown because I trust the dimensions you're talking to.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, right now the only thing I'm thinking is hopefully we can thread this needle, because
which needle?
The needle of all the death that's coming.
Yeah.
Like that we can dodge.
Because obviously someone in California is going to survive.
Yeah.
Because like you talk about like everything happens for a reason. Like I've never felt that more than when we adopted our nephews. Like we had to make 6 billion choices, some right, some wrong, to wind up where we were in the best possible position to adopt our nephews. I mean, if we had been living in Seattle or living on the Washington coast or living in Sacramento, I don't know that we would have been stable enough. Because when we first took the boys, we took them for a summer just to lighten the load on their family, and I don't know that we would have been in a position to do that. And we were put in Bay Area for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one is to be in the best position to take care of these boys who needed it desperately.
Yeah.
And so then basically scratching and clawing our way to where we need to be now, it's just like, well, hopefully, we've got the right family in place and the right stuff to.
Yeah, I hear you. And I fully hear you. I mean, I'm like this weird nomadic, go where God tells me, no strings attached. No, I have this boyfriend who I love, which will make leaving harder. And all my friends are here and that's going to suck. But like, I don't have kids. I don't have a house. I don't need to, it's not like I can just get in my car and do what I fucking want. So lucky me. And so good for you, Katie. Tell your little story to all the people who are like rooted with mortgages and families. I wanted to acknowledge that I get that it's like, what are you going to fucking do? And also the question comes up, what is faith? Because you could argue, I have faith in myself and my spirituality or my earth or my whatever you have faith in, right? Life, whatever, family, whatever. I have faith that like, we're good, we're solid, I can stay right here and I'm safe. Or you could say, I have faith in this information, for if that was a thing you had faith in. I have faith in the divine, therefore I'm gonna get out of here because of what I'm hearing from this lady or this channeled message or whatever. So what is the faith-based choice? What is the not reacting in fear choice? And I think that's where it comes back to the individual human being. Because for each individual, I got a real lesson in this the first go around in 2018 when I told a bunch of people, because I had a few people who are like super tapped in psychic spiritual people say to me, you know, Katie, if what you're saying is true, when the time comes, I will know to get in my car and drive away, or I will know that I'm safe. I'll just know. And that was a really good lesson for me because I can be a little reactive. Like I hear something like this and I'm like, cool, should I move right now? How about now? Should I move now? You know, and like, it was good for me to be reminded. Some people are like, you know, I'm gonna stay calm because I'll know. And I kind of believe that. Like, I just believe that. Like if you guys in September, late September are like, let's go on a little trip, you'll fucking do that. Or if you're like, you know what, come what may, and I'm feeling good, you'll do that, I think.
Yeah. For me, the other podcast, one of the other podcasts I do, Apocalypse Now, where we watch films about society falling apart and dealing with it. I am so much more worried about the after effects of it. Like I feel like you survive the earthquake, you survive the tsunami, you don't get the virus, all that stuff, but then someone else who wasn't so lucky comes for your shit. That's what scares me.
That's where the looting and the civil unrest comes. It comes in response to the disaster. Because if you're uprooted and have nowhere to live, white guy on a hill has some stuff you could take. And I'm not saying, I don't mean that as like people of color are going to take white people's stuff. I mean, whoever is fucked and disenfranchised, you know, when you're fucked against the wall, you're going to do what you have to do. Like people go.
Because then what do? Someone comes and takes my shit. I have no choice but to take someone else's shit so my family can survive. And then it just, you know, I hope I wouldn't react that way, but you know, I don't think most people are planning on getting a gun and stealing someone else's shit right now.
I know. I mean, I always think of when I was in the Sufi healing school, right? We had this, I've told you guys about the perfected master, Sidi al-Jamal, who was the head of the Sufi thing, but he was like a famous guy in Jerusalem at the time. He was part of the peace talks between Palestine and whoever. Like he's like big shit in Jerusalem. And he led Juma every Friday, which is the Muslim prayers for like 50,000 people. He worked at the wall. Like he's like a big deal. He's a perfected master, right? Like fully in the oneness of the divine, perfected human. And he would come to fucking Napa or St. Helena and sit in this room with us, 30 of us who were like, teach us how to be Sufis. And he would just emanate light. And it was incredible. He also would preach and talk about peace and love, all this shit. One day, someone asked a question. I don't remember what the question was, but at the end of it, he said, beloved. He used to talk, beloved, you know, if a person come to your house with stick on fire, you hit him with brick. You not be peace and love when they come with stick on fire. And we had a long talk that day because it was very confusing to all the healing students. Like, wait a minute, aren't we doing peace and love here? He was like, I run an orphanage. He has an orphanage, or he did before he passed. He had an orphanage of hundreds of orphans on a hill. And because of the war in Jerusalem, Palestine, people would just come and set the fucking orphanage on fire all the time. Just cause. An orphanage of kids, right? And he said, so we would, you know, throw sticks on fire at them to try to kill them. Because when people try to kill you, you can't just meditate. If a man has a gun in your face, you got to like do something. You can't. And this was like the high holy master of all high holy spiritual peace and love guys. So like it was very good for me to get that lesson at that time and to realize, yeah, real 3D reality is real. So when we come back and we do some more later today, I have a tiny bit more to say, but I won't talk a lot, I promise. We'll go right into the records about what I'm getting for myself and how weird it is. They're telling me to go to Cortez, Colorado, which I don't know if you've ever looked on a map, but Cortez, Colorado is not a place. It's like barely a thing. It's not where I would choose to go. And it is the only thing that reads as a yes of where I'm supposed to go. The only thing. Over and over and over. I'm like, okay, what about Iceland? Okay, what about Durango? Okay, what if I sit tight? No, Cortez. And I'm like, talk about fucking faith. All right, I guess I'm just going to pack up everything I own and my dog and my cat and drive a U-Haul to Cortez, Colorado, where I know 0 people. So I just did a drive out there. Like I told you guys, I went to Sedona for that retreat, and then I drove 5 hours to Cortez to sit there and go, really? And that's a story that we'll talk more about later today, I think. So this is all real, and it's big, and it's crazy, and I don't.
When do you have just to talk about your move? Like, yeah, is your notice in on your place? And
So that's a good question. My lease is up October 15th. And I know. And so I'm like, I tend to be someone who, like, right when it's time, I get an awareness. Like, I'm very in the now kind of lady. So probably knowing me, right now they're like, in September, you will be driving a car with all your belongings to Cortez. Get ready. But they're also saying, like, there's nothing to do to prepare. I'm not like selling my shit and packing. They're like, just wait. You're going to know, and it's going to be obvious. But my thinking right now is that if I'm leaving in September, that's just 1.5 months to pay on my lease. And I've been asking, like, what if I keep this apartment for a couple months and like sign a new lease, because this place is pretty great, and then I could have both and kind of like decide if I want to come back in December. And I've been getting a no on that. They're like, nah, you're just going. And I'm like, I'm pretty uncomfortable with that, because this apartment is pretty great and I love my view, and I don't know.
have dog and cat will travel.
Apparently. I thought I was done with the nomad part of my life. I thought I was like, and I live here now. But so I love you guys. I've got to pee and hop on another call. I'll see you at, what time did we say? 2?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
See you then. Don't forget to pause or stop your recording and do a new one when we get back on.
But you don't have to pause, because technology! Hello, listener. Since this is such a long, weird 2-parter episode, I decided I would just pile on the weirdness and do this mid-episode hello. And thank you so much for listening. You guys are awesome. We couldn't do it without you. We wouldn't do it without you. And we just want to say thanks. As amazing as you are a little bit quiet. So if we could ask one favor of our amazing listeners, get loud. Tell people about this. You love this podcast. Wouldn't a friend of yours or a neighbor of yours love it as well? Tell them about it. That would be great. Thank you so much. And while you're at it, check out some other great Sounds Awesome podcasts. This is a pretty heavy episode, as you can tell. If you want to have a little bit of fun after this, check out Time Pop, where Ari and I talk about time travel movies. We have lots of great episodes to choose from. We've done episodes on See You Yesterday, Avengers Endgame, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, some Family Guy episodes, 12 Monkeys, and so many more. And then, after you listen to this show and you get your mind in good spirits, check out Truth Not Trends, where they will get your body in shape. Jesse and Liam, 2 great strength trainers, have amazing guests. They talk getting in shape, staying in shape. It's a lot of fun. And then also, as mentioned in this show, we have Apocalypse Now, where we watch and talk about apocalypse movies, where society is going through a rough patch, not unlike the one we're currently living through, except hopefully yours doesn't involve quite as many zombies. We've done episodes on Outbreak, Mad Max the Road Warrior, 28 Days Later, Snowpiercer, just to name a few. So keep listening to all the answers and check out Time Pop, Truth Not Trends, and Apocalypse Now on your podcatcher of choice, or head on over to whatsoundsawesome.com. Thank you, keep listening, and do your work.
Well, it's interesting because we like paused because I had to go to therapy. That's my therapy time. And it was a weird time this week, and everything was thrown off this week, but so we had to pause and do that. And then in the therapy session, I spent a lot of time talking about the tension between knowing something in the way that I tend to know things, and then like what my desire is and what my emotions are. And like, what do I want on the human level? Because like I was telling you guys, like Cortez, Colorado was not on my vision board. I don't have a vision board, but you get my point.
You have a metaphorical spiritual vision board.
I have an inner vision board. That's true. How are you guys doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm trying really hard not to be in like, yeah, but mode.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Not like doubt of truth of story, but like reframe. You know what I mean? Just because what else? Like you said, what are you going to do? So going, well, we are in a mode that you are describing. Maybe it's metaphorical to just COVID and we're already experiencing what you have said and it's bad, but it's whatever, like figuring out ways to kind of like, in the same way that people be like, yo, the Bible is a story, but it's also not literally the story. It's a way of framing stories in order to deliver truths. So like, that's what my brain is doing.
So what's an example? Give me a couple examples of.
You mean like defensive thinking around it? Well, my thought is like,
I thought it was defensive thinking, but I wasn't sure if you were thinking it was defensive thinking.
yeah, I think it's defensive thinking, but I don't know.
But what is it? Tell me in a couple examples.
Well, like hearing the story and either saying, yeah, we're already experiencing that, and that's bad. Like thousands of people in California have died from the current.
But your point being what about that?
That the story of the apocalypse that you are seeing.
But remember, I started it by saying it's not the apocalypse.
Right. But that your story of things that will happen in October, in my mind, I'm going like, well, it's just going to be an extension of what we're already experiencing, which we are able to manage.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to a specific, but that's me saying like, this is bad and I don't want it to get a whole lot worse. So I'm going to take your story and say, yeah, it's bad. It is already bad. So that's what we're doing. Like, yep, California and a lot of other places are fucked up right now. Your vision was specific to California, rather than going, yes, and there's going to be a tsunami and an earthquake and fires in October.
And worse pandemic.
And pandemic tripling, quadrupling down.
Yeah.
Right. That's my defensive thinking is that like, yeah, we were warned and now we are feeling it. And it's bad, but it's not a hellscape nightmare, at least not for me.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm more just saying that not even to cast any sort of like sense of like, nuh-uh, but to tell you like that's where my brain is defensively reframing.
I get it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for framing it that way, because I appreciate that ownership you're taking of that. I mean, I have my own things I'm doing. I mean, literally like my therapy session just now was like my own ways that I go to my own defensive whatevers around all of it. We were talking about how every decision I've made from following the light has led to everything getting better and better and better and better, such that I'm in the middle of a pandemic in the best time of my life. Like everything works and everything's flowing, and it shouldn't if I were normal.
Right.
I mean, so I have all this evidence to support like follow that thing, and still I'm going in therapy. Yeah, but this one's crazy. This one can't be real. Sure, I moved to Benicia and everything got better. Sure, I have all this income from a business that's not dependent on anything and that is already online, and I'm helping people and I'm fulfilled by it. Sure, sure, all this other stuff works and has worked because I followed the guidance I got in the Akashic Records. But this piece can't be right. It can't be, because it's too hard to take in. Like the state I've been in for 17 years is going to be really injured, and a lot of my friends might have a hard time, and then I have to leave the state and move to another where I don't know. And a what town? What town? Talk about a challenge to your faith structure. Like, I don't fucking, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying that's my own. Yeah, there it is. Desmond's showing us a picture. If you zoom in on it more, you'll see how much less of a town it is already than that little dot indicates. And I'm talking shit about it, but I will say this much. I went there, right? And I drove around a lot to try to be like, help, what? And it was stunningly gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous. My body felt really good there. I had a cool Katie kind of miraculous thing happen where a friend of mine said, you should look at your astrologic line on the earth of where your body is happiest to live. And I'm in Cortez and we look at the line. There's like these lines that run across I know, Desmond, they run across the globe. And you look at your date of birth and time of birth and it falls right on a line. And anywhere on that line across the globe, your body is going to feel its brightest, shiniest, happiest. Guess where my line runs through?
Shut up.
It runs right through the Four Corners. And Cortez is the closest town to the Four Corners that you could habitate in. It's where it goes from, I just drove this drive, so I know, like you drive through Monument Valley, which is desert, Navajo land. And then suddenly you enter this beautiful, stunning green pastures, endless vistas of beauty and green. And it says, welcome to Cortez. And that's me living on that line of where my body is happiest. And I did not know that that's where that line ran through. And I could have looked at that at any time. I'm an astrology lady. I could have looked at it any time, and I never did until I was already there. So anyway, I hear you about defensive, fear-based, don't want to hear it. And like, it's really, it's really hard. It's like, I guess it's like the stages of grief, right? Like if a friend of yours says, I'm dying of cancer, you're just like, you go through the stages. You go, no, you're not. Now I'm mad. Now I'm sad. Now you're dead. Now I've accepted it.
I'm glad you brought that up because while you guys were both claiming defensiveness, I was like, I am firmly in anger right now because I have shit I need to do to try to get my shit together and my family's life shit together. And for fucking what?
Yeah.
Fuck you. Not you, but just.
I know. I really know. I really know. I know. Thank you for saying that. I think that's going to be a pretty common response. I mean, yeah. I mean, I just fucking moved here. This place is great. Really? Pack up my car? Like, ugh. Well, let's open the records.
Yeah.
And see if there's anything. Maybe there's info, Desmond. Maybe it's like, your family's going to be just fine. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere. I mean, again, there isn't one reality for everyone. Just because I'm like, Yeah,
that's sort of the question I have is not so much about like what is going to happen, but then like, given that, what is sort of the best sort of highest good guidance of how one operates?
Well, how you
with
operate?
That knowledge. Yeah, I guess how I operate and or how to at least engage with decision making and self.
Do you have a way that you ask, I don't know, your deeper self, the universe, your higher knowing, whatever you call it, about big things?
I'm starting to develop sort of a soft practice around that, which just has to do with like sitting in my chair and asking to see what my feelings are, because that's the thing that I can't ask my brain. My brain will tell me all kinds of stories that are whatever. It doesn't matter. That's where that's the part that goes, yes, but and or.
Yeah.
But so yeah. And like today I was sitting in my chair and I could not, before we got into it today, I was doing it this morning and I could not stop planning, deciding just about shit, life. I could not stop, figuring out what to do, what I was going to do later today, laundry listing, figuring out what we were going to talk about, whatever, rather than just sitting there and going, hey, feelings, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are your feelings? How, and I wasn't numb, but I couldn't stay in my feelings today. I just kept rising right back up into the head. And I'd be like, hello, go back down. Boing, back up into the head. That was today.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is my practice, is to just sit and literally directly ask the question, how are you feeling? How am I feeling?
And so if you were to ask about something like this, would you trust, and you had a feeling about it, would you trust it?
I trust my feelings when they rise, when they come on clearly and strongly. They're just, but they got to speak pretty loud. And I don't mean I have to freak out or anything, but even if I get an extreme sense of calm, that's a feeling that I trust. If I get a strong feeling of if I start to cry, then I'll be like, good, you are at least in a thing. So what is, and then I can go deeper into that. Is that fear? Is that sadness? Is that joy? What is that?
Would it be helpful to you to do that about this
Probably.
in terms of like next indicated actions for yourself?
Yeah.
I'm asking because I'm trying to get a sense of, for you, is it like, because, you know, we all have our guidance systems, right? We
Yeah.
all have our ways that we know what we know. And I'm just wondering what yours is. And you're telling me. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
cool. Maybe it would put you at ease to do that around this.
Yeah. I need to do that around this once. I mean, I don't know if that affects what questions we ask in the records, but like for myself, it's once we do all this, that'll be my next step, will be to be more specific about my personal, how are you feeling work.
Got it. Okay, well, I'm just sitting with, are we going to open all three of our records as yes, all together? Okay, are we opening for the collective? No. Okay, let's go there. And it's a high vibe place, and so we can get a lot of info from there about our individual selves and beyond. So we're not limited to just like, don't think of it as like, oh, I'm all just a small fucked up person, therefore we won't get good info. We're not in your small self when we're in the records. We're in the all that is of you. So hallelujah. I'm surprised they want to use this prayer, but this is the one they're telling me to use. So let's take a couple deep breaths into the low belly, rooting and grounding ourselves in that emotional space of the low belly, the pelvic floor, the heart center simultaneously. Becoming willing to feel, closing the eyes, turning inward, inhaling, expanding the low belly, exhaling, allowing it to fall. Feeling simultaneously as we breathe that way, the bottoms of our feet connected to the ground. Let's visualize, imagine, allow there to be a little foot chakra, a little sphere of energy at the bottom center of each foot. And it opens now. Little hurricane, a little tunnel, a little tube, a little sphere. And it opens and expands until the entire surface of the bottom of each of your feet is a big open plane of energy that connects the electromagnetic field of your body to the electromagnetic field of the earth. I'm in. Imagine, visualize, allow there to be a complex structure of roots, energetic roots that are extensions of your energy field, your consciousness, that now extend down into the earth through the bottoms of each foot. So from your chi or your vibe or yourself, 500 roots extend from the bottom of your left foot. 500 roots extend from the bottom of your right foot into the planet, down and down and down. From the base of your spine, 1.5 foot wide grounding cord shoots down to the center of the planet. It's 1.5 foot wide. It's a tunnel. It's a tube. It's a root. It's a whatever. It's a grounding cord. And it shoots to the center of the earth. But it's nice and wide and open. Excellent. And then from there, we're going to visualize, imagine, or allow there to be divine light energy from the earth transmitted up into that grounding cord from the center of the planet, the soul of Sophia Gaia, the earth herself, up through the grounding cord into the root chakra of you, your body, the base of your spine. That energy then splits off into each hip socket, down into each quad and hamstring, each knee, each calf and shin, each ankle and foot, down through the bottoms of each foot and feeding into those roots that we established moments ago. Through the bottom of the right foot, through the bottom of the left foot, feeding down into the root structure now. Imagining, visualizing, allowing there to be a nice fluid momentum of divine light up into the root, down into the other roots, from the earth to the earth, rooting us here and now. Okay, they want me to go right to the prayer from here. So from here, we're going to say, divine beings of light. So keep breathing and feeling into your low belly and the bottoms of each foot of unconditional love. Help me to center fully in this moment as I create this sacred space. Please wrap me in your love. Allow me, Cassidy, Jamal, Brown, and Desmond McNeese to travel to the highest realms of the Akasha available to us, all three of us today. Lords, Masters, and Teachers, I ask that you show all three of us what it's like, and show me what it's like to be a clear channel of the Akashic records for Cassidy, Jamal Brown, Desmond McNeese, and myself. Oof. Beings of light, please guide me to the deepest truth of all three of us. Support me in healing and releasing the appropriate karma and contracts that have brought us, all three of us, to this life. We give great thanks for your divine love, support, and protection on this journey. Amen. I'm going to go quiet for just a moment. All right, Lords, Masters, and Teachers of the Akashic Records of Desmond McNeese, I ask that you deepen me into his records. Allah. Lords, Masters, and Teachers of the Akashic Records of Cassidy, Jamal Brown, I ask that you deepen me into his records. Lords, Masters, and Teachers of my Akashic Records, I ask that you deepen me into my own records. And Lords, Masters, and Teachers of the Akashic Records of the group of the three of us, I ask that you open the group records for the three of us as a little team here. I ask that you pull us all now down and into our bodies fully. Any dissociated aspects of self, we're asking for them to drop more fully into the human form. Connect our souls in the group Akashic Records below our feet. Ground us here, tether us here together. Show me, please, when the three of our records are open. Yes. Okay. 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 And so, first things first, we're asking now, Divine Mother, Father, all that is, Lords, Masters, and Teachers of the Akashic Records for the three of us. I'm asking for any heaviness, tightness, sadness, anger, resistance. Each of us to feel into those places in our bodies, not to deny them. Allah, to feel into them. And record keepers, we're asking for transmutation of those energies, lightening of them, lifting of them, so there can be peace in our bodies. So this requires that you be present to them, the humans. All of the fear that has been brought up through these conversations, the purpose of which is to have it be cleared so you can live free from it. So all of the fear that's been brought up, we're going to acknowledge it in our bodies, find it in our bodies. Divine Mother, Father, all that is, Lords, Masters, and Teachers, we're asking you to up-level that, dissipate that energy, send it to the light. Oof, allow it to release. Any and all resistance, anger, rage, fury, hate, blame, shame, regret, guilt, fear, separation, denial, grief, or sadness, we're asking to be present to it and for you to bring clearing to it, up-leveling to it, send it to the light, dissipate it, integrate it, allow it to flow up and through and out of our individual bodies, being souls and energy fields, to the degree that we're each ready. And finally, we're asking now for any heaviness that belongs to the earth, like any intensity that the earth is experiencing right now, that we each as the three humans of ourselves are experiencing as tightness, heaviness, ickiness, intensity in our own bodies. We're asking for a healing right now for the earth in a way that liberates our individual human bodies from carrying that heaviness. Good. All right, so we're asking a few questions here. I'm going to go ahead and throw a few questions in, you guys, and then any questions you guys have, we can 100% ask them. first things first, Lords, Masters, and Teachers of my records. Okay. We're looking at this, obviously, this big 2020 in the fall thing. I'd like to ask, first and foremost, so when I had the reading with, I'm going to say his name out now, so we're going to need to bleep it later if that's okay. Okay. When I had the reading with in the fall, in 2018 or whenever that was a pretty disastrous reading. Okay. So is all of that still true? Okay. Yes. All right. So we're looking for, California still looks like in the fall, record keepers, it's going to struggle with all the things that you showed me before, including and not limited to the pandemics, the viruses. Yes. Okay. So still have fires. Yes. Bigger fires than normal. Much bigger, they say. Okay. Still tidal wave. Still earthquake. Earthquake reads bigger than tidal wave. So earthquake for sure. 1, 2, 3, 2. 2 big earthquakes. Offshore, onshore, 1 offshore, 1 onshore. Something like that. Civil unrest. Big yes. That's the biggest yes so far. Civil unrest more than what we've already seen. Yes. Okay. California receiving more of this than a lot of other parts in the US. Oddly enough, yes. Are there other cities where we can expect this much intensity? Yes. New York, Minnesota, parts of Minneapolis, I guess. Chicago, yeah, LA. Where else? Atlanta, New Orleans. What about Miami? Not as much. That's interesting. All right. I'm just kind of dipping my toe in here and just tapping in and just listening. I guess the last thing I'll just throw out is what percentage of California can we expect to really struggle in the fall of 2020 or beyond? Well, yeah, so that's the same as I've been getting a long time now. I get 60% of California is going to really struggle. Really, really struggle. It's a lot. It's a big fucking percent. Oh, and they're talking about the money, the economic system, electricity, just a lot of struggle. So I think what we want to look at is what is in the highest for each of us as individuals to do here, and for Californians who might be listening to this now. What information can you give us about what are our next indicated actions? Is it fair to say, Cassidy and Desmond, you'd like that info?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's go one at a time. So Cassidy, how would you frame what you would like to know? I don't want to project.
I think what you just asked is the best framing. Like, what is in my highest good going forward?
Okay. In terms of, can you ask specific questions? Like, I don't even want to project the questions. Like,
I guess I have two sort of angles. One is just like personally, emotionally, like how to process and take in, and then also like straight up just practical action question. Like, is there anything that I should be doing for myself, for my community, for my loved ones, for my property?
Okay. Doing, like, for example,
I don't know. Yeah.
What are some ideas you have of what you might do?
Buy an RV and run into the hills. Sit tight, doomsday prep, and hang on with the people who I live with. Nothing. Wait and see and just deal with things as they occur.
That one is a yes. Keep going.
Interesting.
Keep going.
Lay in a good supply of gasoline for my generator.
That is a yes.
Okay. That's I've run out of top of mind things.
What about bottom of mind?
I think it's interesting that you got a yes on the wait and see with a little bit of preparation. It sounds like prepare a little bit, but otherwise just wait and see what happens because you're equipped. That's what I heard, but I don't know if that's true.
You're equipped? That's what you heard?
Oh, that's what I deduced.
Mm-hmm. That is what you deduced. So.
But then it was like, I just said, get gasoline for my generator. You're like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when I said, wait and see, they're like, yeah, just wait and see, which is interesting.
All right, I'm going to ask a few questions now. Is it in Cassidy's high school to leave town? No. Is he likely to be safe where he is? I don't know what that means. Is it like he'll know when it's time to jet if he needs to jet, and he'll know when it's time to sit tight? Yeah, that's clear. Hold on now. So, do you still have people in Albuquerque?
No.
No people at all?
Not that I know of. Wait, no, Santa Fe, but not Albuquerque. I have cousins in Santa Fe.
Okay, well, do you want to ask anything else? Because I really don't want to do any more putting anything of mine on it.
The question about just how to proceed emotionally, sort of on the more emotional, spiritual, intellectual level, if there's any guidance about just how to stay present to what is to come.
How to stay present to it. That's what you're saying?
Or best manage. Yeah, sure. That is my question. I think it's hard to put the words on to what I'm asking.
Well, it's like sit with your resistance, name it as that. I see you crying a lot in your chair. If you let yourself, that will be quite healing and aligning. And that will bring you into having clarity about how to proceed and when. The thing that clogs up the human system from having clarity is always an unwillingness to process through the feelings. So, first outer layer of feelings, resistance to feelings. Second layer, usually anger, fear. Third layer, oftentimes sadness, grief. Not always in that order, but oftentimes. Then after that, if you keep going, is freedom, liberation, and clarity. So that's it. That's how.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there anything else for Cassidy? No. Don't rule out the Southwest as a place to visit. There's this real strong sense right now of your tether energetically to the Southwest. I'm trying to sit with it so I can see what they're showing me about it. I just feel it really strong. It's like Albuquerque's right here in your awareness or something. So why are you showing me that? Oh. What brought your parents to Albuquerque, Cassidy? Maybe you already told me this, but I don't remember.
Well, my parents both grew up in Los Alamos. They were brought there by their parents.
Okay.
So that we returned to the Southwest sort of because that's where they had formed.
Well, I think the reason I'm aware of it now, I was asking why is that even in this conversation? And it's like, they're like, that's where your spirit got set into yourself. Like your spiritual alignment kind of came into being there, which makes sense, I guess, because A, it's pretty holy land, and B, you were raised there. So you're just like on that land all the time. So
Right.
You have a real kind of rootedness into the Red Rock kind of way of connecting earth. It's kind of earthy way. But if you were to dig deeper, there is a Syrian connection. So a lot of people have connections to different light beings and light races, and you have a Syrian connection, Sirius being a planet. And the Southwest can remain for you, if you so desire, a source of spiritual healing, well-being, feeling better. Like you can go there and sit on a rock and feel really good, should you ever need that.
Can I share it's sort of an image that has held in my mind a lot and just bounce it off the records.
Yeah.
I've, for the last few years, keep having the image of myself living in a very nicely appointed motorhome that doesn't attach to the sort of permanence of place. And I keep going, that's ridiculous. But I've had that image so often. And then when you said your friends were thinking about like renting a nice one, I've been like, oh yeah, I just sever my ties to place and just live live comfortably and nicely in a nice one, but be able to be wherever I want. I don't know what do you all think about that?
All right. So is that in his highest good? No. Is that necessary? No. Is that a past life image? Yes. Would he actually enjoy it? No. Lonely, empty. Fun for a while. Be a fun thing to have in addition to other things, but it wouldn't be a replacement.
Interesting.
1 second. Is there anything else that this image represents for him? No. Is it fully past life? You want to clear this past life, Cass? The energy of it?
Sure.
Okay. So, all right. So for Cassidy Jamal Brown, record keepers were asking for the past life involving an RV or motorhome to be brought to present time now and fully completed for him, up-leveled, cleared, uncreated, destroyed, brought to present time, brought to present time, brought to present time. And any ways that it's still relevant or would serve him and his highest good to become integrated into his being now. It's very gentle, subtle energy today. It's very gentle, very subtle. It's not very pew. So is that piece clear? Yes. Is it in Cassidy's highest good to buy a motorhome, to buy an RV in the future for him to do that? Quite possibly in the future. Would it be his main homestead? No. Would it be a fun addition? Yes. It would allow you some freedom and mobility. And when you're feeling trapped, you could get out and go. When is the future? Within this year? Yes. 3 months? No. 6 months? Maybe 6 months. Okay, so what is this no? Okay, so the no is just like, you're not going to just give your whole life away and live in a motorhome. And if in the next 6 months you wanted to get one, it would be very fun for you to have it as a weekend option. You take your friends, you go where you want, you travel, you can get away. Yeah, that's fun. The clarity couldn't come through until I moved that little past life energy. I think there was just a past life where you had other stuff about RV or homes or something. So it was all very foggy. But then now it's like, oh, yeah, great. There you go. So how's that land for you?
Good. I mean, yeah, I have to sit with all of it, literally, which is what I was instructed to do.
Yeah.
So I think I will not attempt to draw any strong conclusions because those will be with my brain.
I love it. I think I remember, don't you have to go really soon, Desmond?
Yeah, I gotta leave no later than 2:55. I'm just gonna disappear.
Okay. And we won't be recording at that point, right?
I mean, I could leave it on. Like, that's actually a possibility. I just always worry. I've toyed with it with one other show. It's kind of begging for trouble.
Yeah.
But in theory, I don't have to be here. In theory, I can go get lunch and just come back and turn it off.
Okay. Well, let's just throw a Desmond question in before you have to run out, because I'm just aware of the time.
And then, yeah, if I just disappear mid-chat, I'll be back in 10 or 15 minutes. And you guys will either be here or not.
Oh, okay. I see. So you'll be back soonish.
Yeah, I just have to run across the street and pick him up from school.
Oh, got it. Okay, great.
So, yeah.
Okay, so Desmond, what would you like to throw into this question soup here, if anything, for yourself?
You're probably gonna have to walk me through it a little bit. Kind of like Cassidy, I like the way you worded it up front. And the way I was gonna word it was just how much physical effort is it gonna take to get my family through the next 6 months as far as preparing for major catastrophe. You know, obviously it's going to take plenty of energy just to live day to day right now. And, you know, my thoughts is it ranges from just keep doing what you're doing to moving as far away from where we're currently living as possible to make sure that we have the best chance of survival.
All right, so I'll go through a couple of those things one at a time. So I'm talking now, I'm just going to make it clear to the record keepers for Desmond McNeese. We're asking for guidance for him here. So over the next 6 months, is it in his highest good and for the highest good of his family to move far, far away? No, that's what I got when you were saying it. To stay where you are. Yes, that's a much bigger yes, even than with Cassidy. That's like, it's like, you're good, stay where you are. Okay, great. Will they be safe? Yes. Do they need to plan in some kind of active way? No. Does he need to buy anything to prepare? No. Does he need to do anything to his house? No. Will he and his family be safe where they are? Yes. One thing they're showing me now is, hold on a second. So this is interesting. Okay, because Cassidy, I do get for you, you're going to know at some point to maybe kind of like get out of Dodge for a minute. Just for a minute. Move around, you'll know. But Desmond, it's like, no, stay, good, home, here, fine. Like those are, we asked that same question for the two of you, and it's quite a different energy. And then you said something like, how much energy is it going to take to prepare physically? And they're like, no, like, like that question's not relevant. You don't have to do that. Whatever that is that you're thinking you have to do, you don't have to do.
That makes sense based on all the previous answers.
Okay.
All those other no's kind of bleed into how much effort it's going to take.
Okay. So what information, record keepers, do you have for Desmond McNeese about anything and everything at all that he might benefit from knowing in preparation for this whole period of time? So it's not information that you have to know. It's it's a way of being that you're going to want to be, which is dropping into the belly more. When you get tripped out, it's because you are in your mind, and or for you go out the top of your head, and then you use sometimes some self-destructive patterns to ground. So instead, we would love to see you feel your emotions, become more attuned to the vulnerabilities underneath the defensive strategies. So sadness, fear, become more attuned to those in the belly. Practice sitting with those. Cry, and therefore deepen your grounding to the earth. You can kind of zip on out. And we want you here and now, because when you're grounded, you feel calm, centered, strong, capable, and not frazzled. Okay, is there anything else? No. Is his part of California going to get hit as badly as some other parts? No. That's nice. Like big fat no. Anything else?
No, I appreciated the re-solidification, but that final little bit there goes right into me needing to do my work, which I admitted early on in part 1 of this podcast that I am not doing.
Right.
And I'm just like, I don't even want to go there because I know I need to get my house in order.
Yeah.
And it was a nice, they were very polite, just reminding me why I do it. Like, it's real easy to just be like, fucking do it. But it's like, this is why, because it makes you happier, healthier, and whole. And that's how I need to prepare for this.
That's it.
Yeah.
Situation is by getting myself centered.
I heard him say basically that you'll be better at what it is you're struggling to be good at by doing that. And it's the very thing that's forcing you not to do it because you're stressed out about not being good at the thing.
Yeah, that's it. I was going to say it like you're wanting to protect and take care, and you can't really that well until you self-protect and take care. And then it just becomes organic and simple. You don't even have to think about it or effort it or try. In fact, that brings us back to your first question. How much energy am I going to have to, etc.? Everything after that is a lie. Like all of that is a lie, because your main delusion in life is that you have to will things into being. you can think you have to muscle forward when really it's about surrender and allowing. But you can't surrender if you won't feel, and you can't feel if you won't sit still.
Desmond has to go. I'm sorry to be the guy that's poking into that.
Yeah.
Love you.
I'm just really glad I have this new chair in my studio to just
Touch.
sit.
Should we
Gonna
keep
be-
going or should we just wrap up as you walk away?
Yeah, make it comfortable. Don't rush anything.
Okay.
If you want to get into something else, go for it. If you want to slowly wind down,
You'll just leave it recording and then you'll come back.
Yep.
And should we leave the Zoom meeting if we leave?
yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Desmond.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, record keepers.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and close Desmond's record. So thank you, record keepers, for Desmond McNeese. I ask that you return his energy completely to himself, so he can be grounded, centered. The divine portal and the records for Desmond McNeese are closed. The divine portal, the records for Desmond McNeese are closed. The divine portal and the records for Desmond McNeese are now closed. A minute. Okay, you're all set. Thanks, love. I think we're gonna keep talking for a minute. He's gone.
Great.
Okay, I had my eyes closed. I didn't see that he left.
Yeah, no, he left.
Okay. All right. So, Lords, Masters, and Teachers of the records for Cassidy, Jamal Brown, you're here, and myself. Okay, we're good. We're grounded here in them. I don't know. I have this feeling there's more for us to ask here. Does anything come up for you, Cassidy, or shall I just go on one of my tears?
I honestly, I think part of my blockage today is literally I just have this incredible pain in my shoulder and neck.
Oh.
And so
What happened?
I was like, well, honestly, it's embarrassing, but fucking playing games with friends online last night, just the wrong kind of sitting and mousing. But it's my old injury that tortures me when I mistreat it.
Oh.
And I feel sad about that. But then it becomes psychological as much of it. I feel like it replicates itself because, there's no separation. They're all, it's all part of the same stuff. I feel like now it's tied to, it was tied to the physical, but now I feel like it's a little bit tied to I don't know which the cart, what's the horse. Is it blocking me or is it a manifestation of my blockage?
Oh, would you like me to tell you?
Yes.
Okay, it's a manifestation of your blockage. I'm just curious about what blockage. What blockage? Oh, avoidant blockage. Wow, now I'm just feeling it, so it's kind of intense. There's a way that you can stay tight through the midline, and it's almost like the walls of your body tighten in like this, and there's this little tiny space for you to exist in the middle of you. Oof. And you're out the top a little. You're out. And so when you live like that for a long time, your body goes like, I can't breathe. So here, some pain. So you'll do something and come back in.
Is it out of line for me to ask for some clearing?
No, it's not out of line. Yeah, that. So feel into that.
Even asking for the clearing is what?
Okay, good. That's it. Good, keep feeling. That's it. Good work. Keep going. Okay. All right. So what's happening in your body now? How does your body feel now?
A little more released. I mean, I still have pain in my shoulder, but it's not a bullet of heat.
Yeah.
It was getting really intense.
Yeah.
I do have a I feel like I pushed the walls out a little bit. I don't know if you can see, but like you had drawn a very straight, narrow line through the center line, and now I feel
Yeah.
like there's more like a vase shape in the middle of my body.
Here's what they're showing. These emotions, the remainder of what wants to be processed there, is creating a tightness in the back, the low back, in the sacral area, and at the base of your, just at your low back above the hips, that then has a secondary or tertiary apparent existence in the shoulder. In other words, that's like the third layer. It shows up there, but it's not where it starts. It starts with these feelings that want to move. And you're right, it is more like a vase now. It's more open.
I'm just rotating my sacrum right now because it feels good.
Good. Sometimes they want you to understand sometimes it's literally impossible to move a stuck feeling without involving the spirit. Other times that's not true. So have that knowing and do with it what you will. But the spirit is the doorway to the opening of everything. So it's like when you can't feel a feeling, you can choose to get in touch with spirit, or you can try to, or that's an option we're offering you now, and see what it does to help facilitate the opening into feeling. You are correct when you have an awareness that you can drop in through communication and connection with the other humans. But make no mistake about it, when you connect with other humans and then things open, that's called heart to heart. Guess where the spirit comes in? Through the heart. So what's happening when you're talking with another human and then you're suddenly able to feel feelings is that you're connecting to your heart and therefore opening to spirit. If you're ready to do a little more, let's. Ooh. Ooh. Feel down into the bulb of the vase. Okay, good. And so we're asking for all the places that got cleared to be filled in with the highest and best energy that Cassidy can now hold. The hell does that sound?
On the straight.
Okay. The highest and best Akashic imprinting, blueprinting, and energy he can now hold. Okay, that's a lot better. I'm getting a little info for myself. They're talking about this is what it's like. This is how this 3, Enneagram 3, does the not attached to center thing. You know, they say the 3 is the number that is the least attached to its own center. That was an example of that closing in tight, popping up.
When I was revealed to be a 3 by a Enneagram deep teacher, expert, the thing that she said at the time, she says, "You're afraid. 3s are afraid that when you get all the way to the middle, there's nothing there." And I burst out crying when she said that, and that took me back to an image I had one of the few times I journaled of, which is why it's weird that it just came up, of the center of my body being an empty vase. And that I had nothing to, this was in college and grad school, and I had nothing to draw on. There was nothing there. There was an empty vase. So I had no emotions to pull from. That was the image I had then. So it was interesting that when I just had that image of the vase, I got a little fear because I was like, that's that empty vase image. And then that's just so crazy that you brought that up now, because just wanted to acknowledge that those images cross for me a little bit. So
Yep. Okay, now they're gonna talk for a minute here. You understand that meditators, particularly Buddhist ones, they are looking for the empty vase.
I know.
Yes, they are looking to become the empty vase, because what happens when you face the empty vase is you find yourself. It's just that the self you think you are isn't the self you are. The empty vase is the doorway to the actual self, the essential self, as the Jungians call it, the soul. So the terror that you feel, or the fear that you feel when you think of the concept of the empty vase, is based in a false perception of what the vase is. So your task, should you choose to accept it, would be to sit right with the empty vase until it dissolves and there's another thing behind it. But the only way to do that is to face that terror of the empty vase and to say, okay, I am nothingness. I have nothing to draw on. I am the empty vase. I'm sitting here. I feel that. I feel the nothingness of that which is here. And what? And then sit there. And just like an emotion, it will process through. And it will actually, ironically, become wholeness. Whew. And just as we were saying those words just there, we did a little nugget of that right there with you right then. Dissolving the vase, integrating it, helping you feel and see and know that it is the emptiness that one experiences right before wholeness, full, deep, actual self, capital S, begins to become available. One more piece for you is there is and have been some old ideas of self continuing to run you that are quite fallaciously not yourself. The things you think are yourself, oftentimes, you in particular, they are not. No one needs you to be some way that you think you need to be for them. What they need is for you to be whole, so that in your presence, they themselves feel whole. When you act from a false self, or from a false idol, or from a behavior for others, it is always built on an illusion and a projection. Therefore, it actually makes people uncomfortable. You have a masterful gift, which is a welcoming behavioral pattern, a loving, come in, come in. You're like a host at the inn, and you say, come, everyone, come. And then they come, and there's no one there. And what this means is that you yourself have not sat with your wholeness. You're still sitting with, just be the host. And so everyone goes, but where's the guy? The host is here, but the soul is not. Where is it? And the answer comes, of course, through facing your fear of the empty vase, sitting with it and finding your wholeness. And then discovering that no longer are you required to tap dance for anyone ever. You have the interesting paradox that some human beings have, wherein you don't have enough pain to understand the pain you're in. You also have a high threshold for pain, so you could take a lot. Your race, the human race, takes pride in how much they could take. This is not a point of pride. This is a point of defense. When you become willing to be less good at taking stuff, you will become more integrated with who you really are. So it is. This is the process you're in. You are actively engaged. You're doing well. You're walking the path. We wish to articulate these words and give you this download so that you may have a little bit more of a clear map going forward for what you're headed towards and what's available for you. Not to judge you, shame you, or wrong you, or blame you, but simply to say, here is what is available. Does this make some sense?
It makes all the sense. It's a gift, frankly. I don't feel judged or shamed at all. I feel very generously offered to. So that feels...
Good.
I noted that, I feel like similar to what Rami said a few weeks ago about, I feel selfish asking another question. Like when I asked for clearing, it just happened again. Like that question, that me asking for something for myself was really hard and also a big relief to do. So just saying that out loud as something I experienced and I'm still experiencing. And when I repeated it, I started to cry again.
Yeah.
So
would you do us a favor and repeat it once more, slowly?
Repeat the request.
The thing that made the crying happen.
I would like, I said, and I will ask it again, would it be okay for me to ask for some clearing of my pain?
Yeah. Good. Stay with that. Yeah. Not only is it okay when you don't put the oxygen mask on yourself, you can't save the other passengers. You really can't, because you're choking on no oxygen. Last thing to know is that for a time, it will be quite uncomfortable as you proceed forward, getting back fully into your body and your communion with your feelings and your breath and yourself and your center. If you feel out of whack and you're inclined to go backwards toward less feeling, more distraction, more busyness, that is a backwards movement. Yes, the human being does move in 2 steps forward, 1 step back, totally okay. And we would encourage you to consider the possibility of adding in some structures that make it impossible to only be going back. Daily practice, just what you're doing, but more. With the understanding that you don't have to, and you actually cannot think your way into right thinking. But you can act your way into right feeling and right knowing. Okay. Anything else, Cassidy?
My immediate response was no, but then I realized I needed to ask myself for real.
I got you.
And the answer is still no. I think I'm good.
Okay.
I didn't want to just be like, no, I'm fine. I got enough. I don't deserve any more.
Exactly. All right, record keepers. Anything else for Cassidy right now? They're like, no, that's plenty. They're like, please move slowly. When you move slowly, you can stay with yourself. If you move too quickly, the whole point of moving quickly is so you don't have to be with yourself. Then you come back to having the same problem of the back pain. Just try your best to move slowly so you can stay with yourself in the moment. Your feelings matter, your needs matter, you matter. So thank you to the record keepers of Cassidy Jamal Brown. Thank you very much. I'm asking that you return his energy to himself fully, that you return him to his complete human wholeness. The divine portal and the Akashic records for Cassidy Jamal Brown are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records for Cassidy Jamal Brown are now closed. Amen. Divine portal, the Akashic records for Cassidy Jamal Brown are now closed. Amen. Amen, amen, amen. 1 second. Okay. Desmond's back.
Yeah, things took a fascinating turn while you were picking up the kids from school, Desmond.
I cannot wait to edit this.
I'll say it now because I didn't want to interrupt, but I had the impulse when you were saying heart to heart that my communication is about the reason I can get in touch with my feelings when I'm speaking to another person is because it's heart to heart. And then I really have the impulse, and I'll say it now because it's true, is I was like, oh, by the way, I love you, Katie.
Oh.
I was like, oh, that's real. So I should get in there with that, because that's the truth of how I get in touch with my feelings is through those connections. So
I love you too.
I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Thank you, love. I love you. I'm so happy we do this together. I love you a whole lot.
It's crazy. Wonderful. Crazy wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, well, so we did that. And now I'm like,
your records are still open.
Yeah,
Katie.
I like to leave them open
anything?
sometimes. I'm sort of like, the last little thing I have on my mind is just, is there anything we need to do for the people listening? Like this is a big story, and then the big healings, and then the information, and they don't have to go anywhere, and I get a no now. We don't have to do anything for the people because the teachings, that came through for you guys and are relevant for a lot of people. That this time, with all this disaster, it's transformation. It is death. It's the Hanged Man card. It's the death transformation card. It's the guy with the thing over his head. What's the death guy with his thing? The Grim Reaper. But death, you must remember, is transformation. It's the death of the old and the birth into the new. And sometimes in order to build something new, you have to destroy some old structures. And truly, that's what's occurring.
Well, I hope that includes the white supremacist patriarchy. And I don't mean that lightly. I mean that for real.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. I do find myself wondering, why California? Couldn't it be parts of Georgia? I didn't say that out loud, but
California is the economic engine. It is it's the cultural engine of a lot of the country. So it is the heart. Even we think it's liberal, but it's not. It's actually pretty purple and and it's got a shitload of its own racism and its own problems. And it is it's the fifth largest economy in the world. It is the economy of the country.
Okay, well then that makes sense. That's a good point. Well,
and just geographically, earthquake. I mean, what could make all of this fucking worse? An earthquake. And where's that going to happen if not California?
Good stuff. Good times, everybody. I recently bought a blow-up pool for my backyard, a huge...
To go with your blow-up unicorn?
Correct. It's going to sit next to the blow-up unicorn. But the pool, we can't go in the complex I live in has a very lovely 2 pools, 2 hot tubs, can't go in them. So I bought this above ground pool to put out back for my neighbors and I to clean it out every night and be careful about it, but get in that freaking pool. And today I think is going to be the day.
Awesome.
Because after this one, I'm I need to submerge in some water.
I'm going to take an Epsom bath for sure myself. A very hot soak for my neck and shoulders and just for myself.
Good. I'm going to jerk off.
Yeah!
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
allanswerspod@gmail.com. Please send us your questions.
Please do, everybody. Do you have a question for the divine? Send it to us.
Yeah, we need you.
We want your questions. Next week should be interesting. We'll have Vanda. Hopefully we'll have What the Bleep Lady after that.
We got some cool guests coming up.
Yeah, we'll go from there. All right, I gotta hop off, y'all.
Blessings.
I love you. Do your work.
Do your work.
Bye.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
That was a Sounds Awesome production.